Hi everybody, I'm Shanna Cartmell with Cartmell Chiropractic, and tonight we are going to be talking about your health in 2016. We are going to be talking about these key points. If you can see them, they're a little bit, let me just tilt the screen down a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we're going to be talking about healthcare trends. We're going to be talking about diagnostic testing, how you can succeed in this year, and we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So thank you for joining us, and pop your questions up as they go, and I'll try to answer what I can. I have a live audience tonight, so if I'm not looking at the screen, I apologize. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just speaking to the people that are in front of me. So here we go. Okay, so the reason I chose this topic this year, or this month, obviously, because it's January, but more so because I really want to talk to people about what we should be doing to start this year off on the right foot. So I have a little bit of trends in the healthcare industry right now, both on the holistic natural side and on the mainstream conventional side. And I want to give some information about what's going on. And I think there's a lot of confusion that happens in January, so we're just going to jump into it. So our family belongs to a health share ministry where we don't actually have health insurance, but instead what we have is a share plan. So we pay money every month to a family that has a medical need, and when we have medical needs, we submit that to the company that we're part of, the ministry, and then they pay for our needs. And it's childbirth, doctor's bills, it's anything under the sun, they pay for that. And it's an awesome situation to be in because we're not paying the humongous rates that health insurance are now, especially when everybody has to be insured. So we joined that over a year ago. It's a blessing to our family to do it. It's a whole heck of a lot less money than what's on my hand a month, which is insane for our entire family. So if you're interested in learning about something like that, I'll talk to you about that afterwards. And if you have a question, anybody on there, I'll talk to you about it as well. But just some information about it. So these health ministries or these share plans, they're popping up and they're growing exponentially because health insurance is really expensive. So new memberships into the ministries are at record highs. I received a letter last month on mine saying that this January was the highest increase that they've had since their existence in the last 22 years, I think it's been. This month was their highest jump that they've had. And that's not overall for the entire year yet. It's just that month so far. So people are dropping conventional health insurance, and it's ridiculous. We dropped ours. We were paying out the door, and we weren't ever using it. So that's a great blessing for people to start doing. The flip side, the FDA went from approving an average of 25 drugs per month to a whopping 70 drugs per month. So the FDA used to be really strict on what they would approve, and now everything is getting approved because the FDA is where drugs are where money is. In 2015, this is the only true number statistic I'm going to give you, but it was really important. So in 2015, last year, drug spending increased 12.2%. That's the highest rate of increase in more than a decade. So pharmaceutical drugs are costing way more now than they have in the last 10 years. And with them just being approved every month, more and more and more, it's getting crazy. Okay, so has anybody heard of something called telemedicine? Anybody? So telemedicine is similar to, we're seeing apps now that you can get on your phone that is like a health tracker, like if you want to keep track of your health as you go. But telemedicine is a little bit different. It's actually apps that you go onto now. So rather than go into a doctor for your health care, you go onto an app and you basically submit what's going on with you, and then you can reach a doctor. And they're trying to cut down on the number of in-house visits that people are doing because the doctors are just too busy. So it's becoming a growing trend. Here's the reasons why. So there's too many insured individuals. So we all had to get insured in the last year, and now there's too many insured. So the costs are rising across the board because of that. One, there's too many doctor visits. Two, insurance rates have skyrocketed. And prescription drugs are costing a fortune, and they're being overprescribed because everybody's going to the doctors. So these health apps are being done to keep people from coming in. And I saw on there that it was talking about diabetes specifically for anybody that has diabetes. They're trying to keep them from coming in because you always have to have maintenance. They want you to go on an app instead. Crazy. House calls are making a comeback. I actually just met a practitioner in the last month or so that she only makes house calls. I thought maybe she might want to come in here and do some work, and she's like, nope, I only do house calls. So house calls are now making a comeback. I want to see a doctor come in with like the black bag. Like, that's what I want. If you're not coming in with this big old black bag, don't come. So house calls are making a comeback. And then there's a term called concierge doctors. Now, concierge doctors are continuing on trend. They've been becoming popular over the last couple of years. And what they are is, so you pay a monthly fee for a concierge doctor, and it's a continuous monthly fee. And then basically that gives you direct access to a doctor all month long. Susan, can you throw some pens out here for us? Sure. Thank you. So that's something else. And now here's where my heart starts to melt, because this is what we do here. 2/3 of all Americans are now utilizing CAM therapies. And CAM therapies are what we call complementary and alternative medicine. They're becoming mainstream. So CAM therapies are chiropractors, yay, Dr. Greg, therapeutic massage therapists, which is a little bit different than going to like a massage type of place. Therapeutic you'll find more in doctors' offices. Acupuncturists, nutritionists, that's me, naturopaths, holistic practitioners, me again, and supplemental diets are becoming more mainstream, and people are looking more into it. So why is CAM growing? I mean, in our industry, my husband's a chiropractor, I'm a nutritionist, this is what we do all the time, and it's an uphill battle. We're always trying to be insured, we're always trying to get people to come to us and understand that they're in charge of their own health, and just now it's starting to become more popular, and here's why. Credible scientific research has been supporting the effectiveness of what CAM therapies are doing for people. People are now requesting them, they're demanding it, so it's become popular. People want non-invasive care. They don't want to go under the knife anymore, they don't want to take the prescriptions anymore, they want to be cared for, and they want it to be done as gentle as possible. So that's another reason. And then growing recognition by conventional practitioners. You're seeing more and more medical doctors, more conventional medicine is actually in agreement that you can use these tools hand in hand with typical standard conventional medicine and get results and support. So, and then last is integrative medicine. Now, integrative medicine is pretty much what I just talked about, the complementary medicine that you can use natural therapies along with. So I have an example of what that looks like. So a couple years ago, for those that know me, know I'm like, get my supplements, get my homeopathy, essential oils, like as natural as I can get is pretty much what I do. And even when this happened to me, I was like, I'm just going to take care of it naturally. Until I got so sick that I had to go to urgent care, and they tested me and I had a staph infection. And they were really afraid that it was MRSA, which is a really strong, hard to handle staph infection, but thank God it wasn't, and I was able to just take care of it with a really strong antibiotic. But I fought it. I didn't want to do the antibiotic until I looked like this. So it's a little bit graphic. I should have warned you ahead of time, sorry. So I started out as this, and I had to go in, and basically what they had to do was they had to cut my leg open. They couldn't numb it because they could spread the infection. So they cut me open. That was harder than childbirth, I'll tell you that much. And then if you can see down here, they had to like pack it. So they had to stick stuff inside of me because I was basically a big hole, and they wanted to heal me from the inside out. So I'll pass this around if you want to see it. If not, just turn it over and pass it along. Every day for 14 days, I had to go back into urgent care every single day so they could pull all that stuff out. I would scream at times, and I didn't care. I would hold on to people and make them just hug me the whole time. Again, no numbing, and until it was basically healed enough on the inside that they could not pack it any longer. But when they gave me the prescription, I was really nervous because I'm a woman, and when your body gets off balance with antibiotics, you tend to get secondary infections, and I know what that is like. So I was taking, on the right side is the one prescription that they gave me, and this is what I was taking on the left side of all natural, whole food supplements, nothing synthetic, to try to combat any side effects of what I would get from the one antibiotic. And I'll tell you, it was the first time in my life, I was a child raised on antibiotics. I was sick a lot. It's the first time in my life that I didn't get any secondary infections. I didn't feel bad. And I recovered, I think, really quickly because of what I was doing to help my body heal itself at a faster rate. So that's my story. 3 more things that are really trending in 2016 already is homeopathy. Now this is warm to my heart because I've been doing homeopathy for a little over a decade now. And it's not something that you can just go pick up from the grocery store, even though they sell them easily at the stores. You really have to know somebody that knows what they're doing, or really start reading the books and learn how to do it, because it's not just a simple bottle of Advil that you take off the shelf and pop it because you have a headache. So something that homeopathy looks like, here's a bottle of Arnica, and I think most people are familiar with Arnica. You use it for any swelling, but I would tell you, if you have any type of exercise, take Arnica afterwards anyway. If you've had any surgeries, it helps with the bruising and the healing. It's just an all-around great product. If my child, she's 4, she falls and bumps her head and she hurts, just grab the Arnica right away. It's safe to use with all drug therapies, so you're starting to see homeopathies become more mainstream. And I'm a huge advocate. Any of my friends that know me, they'll call me up and they'll say, what can I do? And I'm like, rattle off some weird Latin names, and I say, go pick up this and it'll work miracles for you. And it does. So homeopathy is something that's definitely on trend. Now, for those that don't know what homeopathy is, it's the principle of like treats like. And they explained it really well, so I'm just going to read it to you what it says. It's a substance which causes symptoms when taken in large doses, can be used in small amounts to treat those same symptoms. So for example, if you drink a ton of coffee, you're going to get sleeplessness, you'll get some jitteries, you'll get agitation. But if you already have that and you didn't drink coffee and your sleeplessness and agitation and jittery, then you can use the homeopathic version of using caffeine to treat those same symptoms. So it's like simulates like in that sense. Now here's something really interesting. I was surprised to see this. The CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, notes that 90% of all doctor visits are related to stress. 90% of all doctor visits are really related to stress. And we are stress people. We go and go and go until we can't go any longer. We feel horrible. We go to the doctor, and then they write us a prescription. But we never got rid of the stress. So what we do here, and I'll explain a little bit later, is we focus on the body overall instead of just the symptoms that you've got going on. And last but certainly not least is nutrition, my favorite. It's the time-tested foundation of health that includes foods and vitamin and mineral supplements, as well as herbs and spices. This was really interesting. In the United States, the standard American diet, which is really sad, SAD, it's been off track for long enough that it has resulted in widespread health crisis. So we've been doing the standard American diet for enough decades that they've actually can equate it to leading us into a health crisis. So what does that mean for us when we're people that are just trying to be healthy? We want to feel good, and we think that the one person we go to when we don't feel good is the person that's going to help us. So we call our doctor. It's our trusted doctor, right? Go to our doctor, we say, I don't feel good, and before you even get your words out of your mouth, which has been my own personal experience, what do? They get out their script, and they say, try taking this. And I, again, firsthand have known my own doctor visits where I've gone in and I've said to them, I don't feel good in this way, and they write me a prescription. I look at the prescription, I say, well, I know that what this is for, but this is for something completely different. So for instance, I went in for hives one time, and they gave me a prescription for anxiety. And I'm thinking, I don't have anxiety, I have itchy skin. And they said, well, take this, it helps. It never helped. So it's just one of those things where, okay, were you paid to do that, or were you really trying to help me? And then what happens is we get to that place where we get really defensive, which is where I did, and I said, I'm not going anymore. I'm not going to the regular doctor. And I started doing my own things. And for those that know my story, I tell it all the time. I say the very first thing I ever did into natural health care was a bottle of lavender essential oil. That's how I started. And then it trickled down, and here we are 20, I don't want to say my age, 20 years later-ish. And I'm a nutritionist standing here talking to you all about how you can care for yourselves healthfully. Okay, so we're going to jump ahead. So we've talked a little bit about the healthcare trends, and then we're going to talk about diagnostic testing. So when I started this conversation, I said that in order for us to know where we're going to be, we have to know where we're starting. And it reminds me of back in the olden days. Now we all have smartphones and we get, turn-by-turn directions. But back in the day, we used to get on the computer and we would turn on like MapQuest. And we'd type in your address of where you're going to go, and then you type in where you are starting from, and then it would give you, how to get there. Well, diagnostic testing is the healthcare's version of MapQuest for us. So what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about what diagnostic testings we offer here, and the 3/4 that I'm really recommending for this year. And I think that we need to be doing it in the beginning of the year so we can see where our health is going to end up at the end of the year. Because I think what's happening is people start the year off thinking I'm going to be really healthy and I'm going to do this to better my health, and then we end up dropping off. And I've got some statistics that I'm going to tell you about that a little bit later. Okay, so we do 4 tests in the office right now that I'm really recommending. So one of them is our Zyto test, which is a biocommunicator. You put your hand on, it looks like a mouse, you put your hand on it and it sends electrical pulses to you. So this is done in-house on a computer, and it tests your body by asking it questions similar to what a lie detector test would be, but you're not saying anything. Your hand is just on it, and your body responds to the electrical pulses. And then that gives you your results. I use this test all the time. It's something I do pretty much on every visit when people come in, or once a month, whatever sooner. So that's a great tool to use. The tests that we send out to actual labs, I have 3 of them that I'm going to talk about today. And I actually have samples of my own tests because I'm an open book, and I figure what do I have to lose to share with who I am and what I have going on. So the first one I'm going to tell you about is a hair tissue mineral analysis. And this test is really awesome because what it does is your hair will actually tell you where you are mineral-wise, but it will also tell you about toxicity, and then it will tell you your body's predictability of where you're going to be headed if you don't change these things now. So I'll pull out. So this test is $94, and what you do is you come in and I take hair from either the back of your head, so underneath your hair, I'll take a little bit of the hair, and then we send that off to the lab. If you don't have enough hair on your head, or it's too short, then you can use hair from your armpit, which you would do at home. I would give you everything to do it, so when you're clean out of the shower, then you dry it off and then you take that and collect it. Or you can use body hair as well, whichever you have more of. I had a gentleman say to me, I don't have enough hair on my head to give, so what do I do? So I said, well, we can find ways. The other thing then is, so you send it in and then it comes back, and it gives you 2 different pieces of information. So you'll get 2 folders that look like this. You actually get to take these folders home after we go over them. The first page is your analysis. So it will look like this. I'll show it to you guys first. So it looks something similar to that. And what it does is it goes through and it tells you your nutrient minerals, which are calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, iron, copper, manganese, zinc, chromium, selenium, and phosphorus. Then it tells you toxic metals. So it tests you for lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, and aluminum. Then there's some additional minerals such as nickel, cobalt, molybdenum, lithium, and boron. And then what it does, and this is the interesting part, and this is why I do what I do. So you could look at this test and you could see some things on mine are high. And most people, they would look at that. So for instance, this is what you get a lot. Okay, my sodium, it's high. But you all know that I'm a huge proponent of Celtic sea salt, Himalayan sea salt. You know me. This doesn't mean that I have too high of a sodium intake. It's a bigger picture. So if you look next to it, my potassium is also really high. Well, I get cramps a lot in my feet, especially when I'm exercising, so I know I don't have excess potassium in my body. But if you look at the bottom of this page here, it gives you, I'll just show it to you real fast, it gives you some ratios on what is going on. And if I look at my sodium to my potassium ratio, it tells me that I'm out of range, and my sodium to potassium means I have adrenal burnout, which I already know that, so I'm sharing it with you. But so that I already knew because of what I do, and I know my body. But this is just confirming it, which is really interesting. And so each one of these significantly will tell you, depending on what your ratio is, it tells you your blood sugar, your thyroid, your adrenals, your vitality, your hormones, and protein utilization. And then at the very, very bottom, it will tell you what your oxidizer rate is. So oxidation, you could be mixed, fast, or slow. The really interesting thing is what's in the rest of the book here. And when I get it, I go through it and I highlight what I want you to know and what it means about you. And the parts of it that I've highlighted will tell you, so you exhibit a low potassium ratio. You exhibit this imbalance. I'm not going to share everything. I am actually a fast oxidizer. And so fast oxidizer basically means that when you eat foods, your body doesn't have them long enough to process the nutrients out of them. And so you tend to process food too quickly. So it's characterized, though, by excessive activity in the adrenal and thyroid glands. And that is just confirming what I already knew about me, because I have nodules on my thyroid. So that kind of makes sense. Okay, great. But if I would have just looked at something and said, how am I healthfully wise, I would look at that and I would just think, oh, I must just be eating too much salt in my diet. It has nothing to do with salt in the diet. And it actually explains that in the book to you as well. And it goes through. The nice thing about it is so thorough that it goes all the way to the end, and it tells you foods that you should be eating and foods that you should not be eating, all the way down to nutrient mineral patterns. I can't tell you. I'm going to pass this around afterwards. You guys can see it to see what it does. And then the second best part of it is a dietary profile. Now, the dietary profile, it gives you 3 steps to changing your diet. And when I give this to you, I say, do what you're comfortable with, and I don't judge or question any of that. And you can go through and you can start in the basic if you want to and start to make slow changes, or you can go all the way to, it's called the optimum, let me get the right word here, I don't want to say the wrong thing, the optimum diet for the fast oxidizer, because I said I'm a fast oxidizer. So we'll give you the optimum diet, which is probably where I'm going to start, because I want to quickly turn that around. So that's the first one, that's the hair tissue. The second test, this is a huge one. So the first test, the hair tissue test, is $94, and that includes both of the dietary profile and the analysis. And the second test is the adrenal stress index test, and this test is $120, and you pay the lab separately for all of these things that I'm talking about today, except the Zyto, because we do that in-house here. Okay, so I'm going to pass this around. I think take one. Now, the Adrenal Stress Index Panel is a test. It's non-invasive. You get a little kit that looks like this. It comes in a little box, and you actually take this kit home with you. Before you leave, we fill out all the paperwork together, and everything is in here that you need to get you started. It also comes with a mailing label, so you don't have to pay for any shipping. As soon as you're finished, you close this back up, you stick the label on the outside, it seals it, and then you take it to any UPS drop-off. You don't even have to wait, you just go and drop it in the drop-off. And then it comes with the little vials that you're going to use, and inside the vials are little cotton tubes. You're going to use those. And then it also comes with a true step-by-step. It does not get any more clear than this. It's a step-by-step how to go through it. It'll take you about 1 full day to do it, and obviously you know that you can always reach me, so if you have any questions, you can text me and I'll be there to answer them and help you out. So if you open up the little brochure that I gave you, it'll tell you a little bit about what it can do. So it can identify possible causes of excess fatigue. It can understand why you might have food cravings and help to build and maintain your muscle mass. That would be what I would come into play for. It'll help identify underlying reasons for chronic infections such as sinusitis or other recurrent respiratory infections. It can help you to determine if a gluten-free diet is something that you should look into. And it can also help identify reasons why you may have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. It will attest the 5 different samples will be used to test cortisol, insulin, DHEA and DHEAS, your IgAs, your 17 progesterone, and gluten antibodies. And you do, again, it's non-invasive. You do it at home and you use your saliva. So we've talked about our hair, we've talked about our hands, and our energy, electric pulses, and then we've talked about our saliva testing. Now, saliva testing is more comprehensive than blood in some scenarios because it can test what's going on with you in a free, which is unbound to proteins, as opposed to your blood, which is always going to be bound. So it's a great test to do. Again, it's $120. You pick the kit up. If you're at home, I can ship the kit to you, work through the paperwork with you. You drop the check in the box and you send it off, or you can put your credit card information on there. And then the test comes back to me and we talk about it. Do that one. And then the last test that I want to talk about is called a, wait, I'm sorry, I'm going to show you one thing real fast. So when you get it back, the test will show you something that looks like this. This is just a sample, this isn't mine. But this corner right here, it'll show you, you want your body's levels to be in the green, and the blue line outside will tell you where you really lie. The great thing about this test, and this is why I love it, it does my work for me, it will tell you where you correlate in this little box here, and where you fall in the box will tell you, so if you're in the reference range, that's great, but it will tell you if you have acute stress, high cortisol, with declining DHEA, or high cortisol with low DHEA. You can have transient DHEA, adrenal hypofunction. So it really tells who you are and what's going on with you. It'll check your insulin and your saliva, and it'll give you a little chart right there. You can see this is just a sample, so it doesn't really show. And it will go through that so you can see how you are and where you are functioning. So this is a really cool test. I have to tell you guys, I'm excited about this one. And then last but certainly not least, once a year it's really important to do a blood test. And too often though, I have people come into me and I say to them, bring your current blood test that you've had, whatever you've had in the last, I'll even go up to the last 6 months. Anything beyond that, I tell them you should probably get another one. But what happens is, and if you've experienced this, you go to your doctor, you say, I want to get a blood panel. They'll check off a couple things, and then they send you on your way. But more often than not, that blood panel is really incomplete. So they'll check your thyroid, but they don't check all 7 tests of the thyroid. You're not looking at anything. Or if you go in and you say, I think I have, let's say you're a male, and you say, I think I'm having some issues with my testosterone. They don't necessarily test the entire panel, and that entire panel is the only thing that's going to paint your picture of where you're at. You have to see if you're imbalanced someplace, something else is going to be imbalanced as well. It's like a teeter-totter. You have to know what that is, and if you don't test for everything, you don't know. So there's a test that we do that we highly recommend once a year. It's a thoroughly comprehensive test. It's 17 different markers that they test you for. It's a pricier test. It's $629. You can try to send it in a super bill to your office, or to your health insurance if you have one, and they can possibly cover it. But this test covers everything from your CBC, which is a complete blood count. Most people know what that is. A metabolic panel. You do your lipids, your fats, your thyroid function. There's 7 tests for the thyroid, so it's not just your T3s and your T4, but it's also the unbound thyroid testing. Then we also have your immune system. We're also doing enzymes, your amino acids, your arteries, and then fibrinogen, which tells you about bleeding or blood disorders or how you clot, and then a vitamin D test, which has become really popular, a metabolic panel, your insulin, your calcium. So it's a huge test that really it paints a whole picture. So if you do, in the first, I'd say the first quarter of the year, if you go through and do all of these tests, you'll know truly where you are and where your health is and where you're headed. So that's something that you might want to look into, and we can go over more specifically if that's something you're interested in. You can, by any stretch of the means, come and look at them as we go on. Okay, so last but certainly not least, how you can succeed. This is something that I have seen a lot, even in my own health journey. I too have gone through lives where I go up and I go down, and you get really motivated at certain times and you get really unmotivated at other times. I'm a mom with a young child, and that is not an excuse because I've seen really fit moms, but I've allowed certain things in my life to take a toll on me. And when you see your health start to decline, especially with me who's in the natural health industry, I feel like a hypocrite. So what I want to share with you all today, and the reason why I'm so real and honest about who I am, is that I don't want you to think that perfection is attainable to anybody, but that's not the goal. The goal is the journey along the way and being the best that you can be for you. So my main thing is that everybody in this room can succeed on your own journey, and it doesn't look the same as anybody else around you. I think the hardest thing, especially as women, is we see people that have an image of what we want our bodies to look like, and we don't have anywhere near the same body chemistry as them. And we're never going to attain that. And it becomes a driving force for us to decline in our health. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit. So for us, what we do here is we want to jumpstart your health, really. And how we would do that is, one, the most healthful way that we can, but two, not just to motivate you, but it takes people seeing change in their health in order for them to spur on more desire for more change. And what happens is when people start something and they don't see a change fast enough, then they tend to think, oh, this isn't working for me, and they stop. And usually you stop before you hit that sweet spot, before you allow it to quickly change things in you. So there's a couple things that we do in our office. We actually, in February, we're going to be going through one of these, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But we have a couple kits. Now for us, the reason why we start with a kit is because it's going to jumpstart you. It's going to motivate you. So there's 5 that I want to talk about. So one is the oral care protocol. And this is truly just the entrance to all of our health really is through our mouth. And so this is going to start you into taking care of your mouth, because if you start taking care of your mouth, the rest of your body will start to feel better as well. Every time I go to the dentist, I get good results. I do not have any of the answers that I used to have from using the oral care protocol. And I'll post later on what that is, and you guys can look at it while you're here. But I'll talk about a little bit about that later. The 21-day purification, some of us in the room have already done it. I've gone through it a couple times. My husband has gone through it. And it just does. It changes your life in 21 days. But I tell everybody it's not going to change your life forever. It's the launching to changing your life. So you can accomplish change, but it doesn't. Those things don't do it. They just start your path to doing it. We also have something called the 10-day blood sugar balancer. For those that people aren't ready to do the 21-day, the 10-day blood sugar balancer, it will stop your cravings. It will get you more even control. It'll keep you from having maybe some hypoglycemic reactions, hard cravings, and then feeling bad because you gave into your cravings. And it will help to balance out your blood sugar quickly. It only takes 10 days. Then we have the gut rebuilding protocol. This is anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks, and it does just that. It rebuilds your gut. I haven't seen a person come in here that hasn't had a need to repair their gut in one way, shape, or form. So these are all designed to accomplish overall changes and benefits in a short amount of time so you can begin to reshape your life and your health. Again, they're not quick fixers, but they're launching strategies to help you start off on the right and best foot possible. They help to clear out excess hormones, excess toxicity. They promote proper healing and digestion. And then they also saturate and support your body with holistically, so whole foods based programs, which is a huge bonus because we don't want to do anything synthetic. Okay, and then the second thing, this is huge, and this is something that for me personally, this has been my struggle. And so I'm going to share something with you real fast. Statistics show that in January is, if you ever go to a gym, January is like booming in gyms. Everybody says, this is my New Year's resolution. I'm going to get into shape. You see the commercials. You see, ad campaigns are everywhere. And they say, you can do this. Join us now. No cost to join. Only so-and-so a month. Here's the problem, though. February 14th, 80% of those January boomers drop off. 80%. By March, another half of that leftover 20% has fallen off. So people pay big bucks at the beginning of the year and they join these memberships. And a lot of times, even if you join a 6-month membership, you're stuck paying that. And usually the last 3 to 3.5 months, you're not using it at all. Or you go maybe 1 or 2 days. And here's the problem. One, if you do it by yourself, that is so brave of you, but motivation is where the game is at. And if you can't have somebody to do it with, you typically don't do it. Now some people, they're great at it. They're self-motivators. They're people that, they're the ones that motivate everybody else. But if you're not that person or you don't know that person and you're doing it by yourself, it's really easy not to. For me personally, it was really easy for me to say, oh, I'm just going to go play with my child, or oh, I'm just going to go do this, or oh, I don't really have time, or oh, I was too busy doing this, and I have laundry that needs to be done, and I don't have time to get out. I mean, I could use any excuse under the sun. I'm so good at excuses. The problem is that we spend all this money, and then we set ourselves up to fail, and then we feel really bad, and then we either feel really bad about ourselves, and that puts us into a sort of a state of depression, or we start to get angry because nothing's changed in my life, and these things don't work. I get that a lot in here. These things don't work for me. Maybe they work for somebody else. But the way you get a system to work is to have an accountability partner. So I say don't ever start a journey alone. Even when we do the purification system, I send out an email to you every single day. There's actually a company that does it for me that sends out an email every single day to help to motivate you, to give you some information, to just walk alongside you, which is what I am common for saying. I'm just here to walk alongside you in your health and on your journey. It's all about you. So you must begin with a buddy system on anything that you do to change your life. Go through it with someone, or have me go alongside you, because having that person to support you, even just in a text message, is huge when you can't do it on your own. And I'm one of those people that can't do it on my own. I'm really good about motivating other people. For me, it takes a lot, and I've been working out a lot with my husband, and that's been huge for me because it gives me accountability. And I've then been able to pull other people in and say, hey, we're doing this. Saturdays we're going down to the beach. Thursdays we're working out in the office. Come and join us. And it's been starting to show. People are starting to show up. And then you get really fun, you get really excited, and then you have that accountability. I probably wouldn't have been able to be this successful already if it hadn't been for having my husband help me. So if you don't have a spouse or you don't have a buddy or a friend, the best way to get one is to ask someone. You'd be amazed at all the people that you know if you were to say to them, hey, look, I want to try this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this. Hey, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to try and sign up here. Do you want to join me? And you'll be surprised at who will come out of the woodwork and actually say, like, yeah, I'll totally do that with you. I've run marathons. It's something that I enjoy. Well, I hate to enjoy it, but it's something that I've done. And an ongoing joke between a friend and myself, she runs a 5K. And she said to me, you want to come out and do a 5K with me? And in my snobbish way, I said, I don't get out of bed for 5Ks. Like, I'm just nothing. That's a snob. But the reality is that any reason to get out, even to just go do something fun like that, is a huge opportunity for your body to boost itself back into health. So I won't be saying that anymore if anybody wants to ask me. We also have a support group on Facebook. It is a private group. It's for people that go through any of the protocols that I was talking about. Then you get welcomed into it for life as long as you want to stay. And that's great because people get going on there and they start seeing recipes, or they'll post something, or they'll say, hey, this is what I'm feeling today. Has anybody else gone through that? And then you start to see even people that have already done these programs in the past come back on there and make comments. The best part is when you're going through it, though, and people post like, oh my gosh, this is what I made for dinner tonight. And you see the excitement in people wanting to make the changes, and they want the people to support them in that as well. And then now we're on Periscope, so if you can't make it to workshops, or we're going to start launching more little mini snippets of information that will start launching out. So if you're not on Periscope already, please sign up. I need hearts. I'm just going to say one little beware, and I don't ever talk negative about any other company or any other thing. However, not just gyms get huge impact over this time of the year. Also, so do companies, typically an MLM company, like a multi-level marketing company, where you come in, they sign you up, you purchase a kit for a really great deal, and then a lot of times you become a distributor. And the goal then is to get you to be able to, you get a discount if you purchase it, and then hopefully you'll turn around and work the business. And people do that successfully, and that is perfectly fine. However, when you start something like that, sometimes what can happen is you get entrenched in the monthly fees and the costs that go along with it, and you don't quite yet know if that system is going to work for you. And just from experience of what I've been told firsthand is if it's not working for you, then they'll typically say, well, that's because you need to add these products to this to make this product work in the first place, and you didn't do that. So you end up adding even a little bit more money, and then you're paying automatically each month, and then if you finish it, you typically have leftover product. So if that's a route that you want to take, that's okay. I certainly would never tell you not to. However, really research it. And I always tell everybody here, we have products that we recommend here. They're all whole foods. I know the farm that they're grown on. It's grown in America. It's manufactured in America. I can actually do a tour of the farm if I want to, and the manufacturing plant. So I trust this product. However, if you don't want to use my product, that's okay. But whatever you choose to use has to be better than what I offer. And you can bring it in and show it to me, and we'll talk about it. And I don't just say, oh yeah, that's no good, take it out. I'll tell you this is why I don't think this is a good product, or yeah, this works for you. And hey, I'll even muscle test you with it if you want me to. Because really the idea is just, I just want you to be healthy. And I want all of us to be healthy. And the only way we're going to do it is if we start looking at our own journey and not the journey that's out there that we think we should be a part of. So my rates for an initial visit to see me are $90. And then any visit after that is $60. Zyto is included in my visits, so one Zyto a month is typically what I like to do, but that's included in my fees. And then the diagnostic testing that we talked about today is it's additional, and you just pay the labs that process them separately. So thank you for those that joined Periscope. Even if one person is on there and you're watching me, I thank you so much. This is new. I've been wanting to do this for about 6 months, and I just kind of been putting it off, and I watch other people do it, and I think, hey, I should be doing it too. So I'm going to turn it off so we can have our question and answer time. But if you are on there and you're joining us, please come back and watch us again. Thanks. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this.